the thing, though. We ask for more light. We ask for consciousness. We ask for higher rates of vibration. We ask for an awakening, and then when we get it, we scream and yell because all of a sudden now we can see all the junk and the dirt in the corners. As an example, it's a lot easier to hold a dinner party at 9 p.m. after the sun sets than it is at 2 p.m. when the sun is screaming into all of the corners in your home and you're having to go around with a feather duster and clean things you wouldn't have to clean if people were showing up after the sunset. It works exactly the same in here. Because we're asking for something, and then when we get it, because what it reflects back to us is something we don't like and we don't want to see, and we definitely don't want to take responsibility for, all of a sudden we try to push it away and we say, that's not mine, that's yours. No, it's yours, it's not mine. It's not mine. That in which you judge another, you are guilty of practicing. Jesus said that. Yeshua said that. What was the caveat? He gave a certain, what was the out that he gave to that? Did he give any out to that one? That in which you judge another, you are guilty of practicing. No. It's a funny thing. He called them something after that. He called those people what? A hypocrite. Hypocrite is a word in Aramaic. The word is ape. Pay means this, to puff your mouth out. It also means, when you hear ape, it means to puff up and speak from a puffed up mouth. Ape. Doesn't mean that physically. It means literally to like bloat your ego and speak from that. Interesting, because ape is the same word as veil. When you heard the veil of the temple was rent in twain, Matthew 27:51, ape taria da haikla, the veil in the portal of the energy temple was ripped in half from the most conscious to the most unconscious. It's not a curtain in the doorway of the church that only the high priest can go into. Hello, McFly. I know it looks like that in movies, but that's not the way it works. Now, that word ape has another meaning. It means person, which comes from the Latin word persona, which means mask. And the ape in the first century in Yeshua's culture was a mask that an actor would wear in a ceremony or a play or some sort of drama. And when the person goes into their drama, they wear their mask. And when he called them a hypocrite, they wouldn't have heard the word hypocrite. They would have heard, ooh, that's not your true self speaking, that's your mask. Because your drama is up and you're speaking from the drama now. You're not speaking from your true light. And that in which you judge, that you judge in another, guess what? It's you. So what that means is that when you've got a minister on a Sunday morning on television screaming homophobic slurs into a camera, what does Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, and all great psychology of the last 120 years say that who's he talking about? Himself. He's talking about himself. And a few of them have actually had a few oopses, and it makes it into the press. Ted Haggard, bless your heart, buddy. When you're ready to own it, cool. But the funny thing is, the stronger it is in you, or the stronger you see it in them, means it's in you more intensely. And when you try not to think about it, you actually push back on it. You add more kinetic energy into that spring, and you amplify it in your own temple. Let's see if it works to not think about something. Okay. Don't think about Barack Obama. Okay? No Barack Obama. No Barack Obama. It's funny, every once in a while I get a wise guy that goes, I just want to let you know that I'm not thinking about Barack Obama. And I'm like, oh, really? In order not to think about him, you have to think about him. So step one is about being really raw in our honesty of what we're really feeling. It's amazing when I saw the little slide thing here about the other place that they're looking at moving into and buying, and all of the stuff was coming up on the screen, like trepidation and fear and all these things, and I was like, wow, that's an enlightened community that can allow those to be on the screen rather than trying to turn away from them. Because when you try to turn away, what you're actually doing, like if somebody's got a weird nervous tic, they make a weird sound like or something all the time every 3 seconds, and you try not to think about it, then you introduce them to your friend, and your friend's looking at you like you're not noticing that? Notice what? You try not to think about it, you'll go nuts in your head. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's actually an opportunity for your healing because it's triggering a resonance of something that's inside of you that when that comes up, you have an opportunity to bring it into the light. So let's just talk about that for a few moments. You got to be careful, though, because if you do this wrong, you will burn in hell for eternity, okay? I had to get that in there. I was paid for that, no. Here's the thing. That word that was, first of all, hell doesn't exist in the Aramaic Jesus teachings. I know, big surprise, right? Does anybody know where our modern idea of hell comes from? Catholic Church is part of it. Shh. Anybody else?
Garbage pit, right?
Well, there's more to that, and I can hit that in a second too. But it actually comes from a guy named Dante, from something called the Divine Play, written in Latin, which is a real fun read if you got nothing to do on a Saturday night and you want to get into fire and brimstone and sulfur and souls burning in eternity. It's a good thing to read, especially if you get the one with the pictures. But actually, yeah, what was translated, I'll say this too, what was translated in Mark 9, 47 through 50 as hell, and if you look in the New International Version, which is just garbage, there's no version of the Bible that I'll say stay away from except for the NIV. Even the Southern Baptist Convention disowned that one a few years ago and said, we ain't touching that one anymore, because it was what the NIV does every 3 to 5 years, they retool it and retranslate it to be more in line with their current political belief systems. I'm not saying they go back to the earliest texts and they recalibrate it. I'm saying they just change it to what they need now every 3 to 5 years. And it's so far off base now that in Mark 9 it actually says that you'll be thrown into hell. That word it actually says in the original King James is Gehenna, which is an Aramaic word. Does anybody, without you answering, does anybody know what the Aramaic word Gehenna that was translated as hell means? It was the city garbage dump. Down on the south side of Jerusalem, outside of the inner walls of the city, of the main part of the city, it was where they burned the trash. And they would send the people with mental and physical issues down there so they wouldn't be mucking the joint up at night. So you could stand on the walled city of Jerusalem and look down and see the lepers and the people with mental issues warming themselves by the fires of Gehenna. There's a lot more to that, though. The word that Yeshua used for fire sounds like this, nohrata. Nohrata. A lot of what he talked about was light. Light. Anybody know what the word Lord actually was in Jesus' language? You may be surprised. We don't realize that we're using words that are only 300 or 400 years old from a white European perspective, mostly through the Church of England. The reason for that is because if you had something other than the King James Bible in the 17th century, it was frowned upon, let's just put it that way. And you suffered and you were tortured for prolonged periods until you were ultimately killed for having a Bible other than that one. Now, that sounds like a Jesus story. It sounds like something he would support, right? But that word Lord, people don't realize Lord is a feudal. It's a term from feudalism. The Lord was the landowner. He was the bread giver. He was the power person. He was the one that had the power over the peons and the serfs. He owned the land. He would divvy out just certain things in return for you working that land. You'd get a little bit of food and sometimes a little bit of money and a place to live, and that's it. Now, Jesus never called someone Lord. He was never called Lord. The reason I know that without any doubt is because the word Lord did not exist in Yeshua's lifetime. It didn't even pop up until over 1,000 years later. You know what that word Lord is in Aramaic? It sounds like this. Maria. We thought it was Latin or Spanish or Italian, and it is, but they all got it from Jesus' language. And what Maria means is one who shines a feminine light from a place of strength. That's a masculine light. What's coming in that's definitely masculine light out there. You got steam bath you got going out there. That's a masculine light, which is something that's obvious that you perceive with your 5 senses. A feminine light is like a child in the first hour of life. You pick up that living, breathing being, and you sense that light, though you don't necessarily see it head on. Do you understand what I'm saying? The ones who radiate that kind of presence were called Maria back then. If you put an M on the end, it becomes Mariam, which is the word Mary. Mariam. As a matter of fact, Magdalita, we were told she was called Magdalita. Why? She was called Magdalene because it's where she was from, right? Not common practice in the first century to tag a woman with the name of the place she was from. They were codes in the Aramaic language. Bethany has a meaning. Magdalene has a meaning. The word Magdalita means a feminine fortress of strength. And what it says in the Aramaic text is Mariam, the woman who shines that feminine light from a place of strength, who is also a tower or a fortress of feminine strength. That's what her name meant. Ooh. Shh. But when we start messing words up, we start missing the point of certain things. Now, I've only got a couple of minutes here, but I want to bring something across to you and then talk a little bit about that light thing. It says in the beginning of this book here, this is an Aramaic Bible. What does it say in the beginning of the Gospel of John? In the beginning was the Word. I want to tell you now, word is the hardest word to get from Aramaic into English. The most difficult word to translate into any other language. Greek, the word is logos. When you have different points of entry, it's called logoi. Now, logos doesn't mean word on a page. Let me explain what that word means just briefly here. This is what in the beginning of that Aramaic Bible, it says, Berashit etoihua milta. This is the word, milta. The ta sound, which this way in Aramaic, that way in English, the ta sound genders this word feminine, okay? Now let me explain what that means. My perception of this lectern in terms of language is feminine. The actual lectern itself is masculine. Just breathe for a second. My perception of this Bible is feminine. The actual Bible itself is masculine. Feminine, you could say, is an experience, it's a perception, it's a state of being, it's an attitude, you could call it spiritual. But the object of my attention is physical, it's manifest. Does anybody know what the word manifest means? And before you answer, let me tell you that you've been duped by the spiritual publishing industry over the last 40 years, because we think we know what manifest means and we don't. We think it means what? To bring something into being, right? To make something real. It's actually a Latin word. Manifest, manus festus. Manus means hand, festus means obvious. Manifest means as obvious as my own hand. Literally, it just means obvious. So as an example, we go out looking for the key to manifesting. And by looking for the key to manifesting, what's obvious to me? That I don't know the key to manifesting. So what reflects back? A lack of consciousness about manifestation. Or if you start focusing on doing an affirmation for I am rich or something like that, and you're not processing the veils that are coming up in response to that, what you're actually doing is strengthening anything unlike the I am rich statement in your energy temple, because only 3% is in your affirmation. 97% of your being is down in the darkness. And it all resonates at the same time. And if you're just focusing on the 3%, when that 97% starts coming up, if you don't know how to process it, you're actually going to manifest the exact opposite of that which you're stating, because you don't get what you want or what you affirm. You get what is obvious to you. And that's what becomes manifest. What you really think and what you really feel about it. Are you getting what I'm saying? And it's the one reason why people are having so many problems with The Secret, because The Secret is lopsided. Yes, it's true, but the subconscious aspects were wiped under the carpet. Now, my perception of the words on this page, in the beginning was the feminine word. My perception of these words in this Bible is what? My perception is feminine. The actual physical words themselves are masculine. Everybody picking up what I just said? Anybody? That in the beginning cannot be a word on the page. If you were to imply that a word written on a parchment, a papyrus, or a stone written by the hand of a human was the word of God in the first century, you committed a blasphemy, which means to cut something away from its true source. So when we say this is the word of God, regardless of what book you're holding, you commit a blasphemy. Because the word of God is not in the book. The word of God is what grows your fingernails. The word of God is what wakes you up in the middle of the night with the idea. The word of God is what brings this beautiful little baby into life so that they're 25 years old standing before you as a full-grown human. That's the word of God. And it's actually who we are. It's the true essence of our being. That word that Yeshua used for that sounds like this, nohrata. It was ultimately called fire. But what he said was, if I gave you a nohrata, if I gave you nohor, if I gave you light, a lamp, a candle, would you hide that light below what? Bushel basket. The word bushel basket is sata in Aramaic. The root of the word satana. Satana was not an outside being. That happened hundreds of years later. In the original Jesus teachings, Satana meant a being divided against itself. The good me fighting against the bad me. The light me fighting against the dark me. The feminine me against the masculine me. The not so obvious me fighting against the obvious me. When I'm talking about masculine and feminine and light and dark, I'm not talking about two different things. I'm talking about two qualities of one continuum. One energy system. And if you take one out, the other ceases to exist because it only exists in wholeness. How many lights am I holding? It's not a trick question. One, right? Look at that. It's really easy to look at all of the different dots on the ceiling and think at all these billions of human beings when in truth there's only one light. Literally, we yak oneness. One last little thing here. As an example, if I gave you a light, would you hide that light below what? Lots of bushel baskets. Let's find the key. We need the key to it. We need the key to manifesting. We need to find out how the system really works. So we keep adding all these things, layers upon layers on top of the light, thinking that the more we learn, the closer we'll get to the truth. How many people see the light through that? That's 5 layers. All right, let me make it easier for you. I started peeling some things back. You can sort of see a little bit there. You know what this is? This is your unconscious. This is also the collective unconscious of humanity. And when you process a little bit of your unconscious, meaning, unconscious in Aramaic means just that I don't know what it is. That's what darkness means. It doesn't mean it's bad. It means I haven't looked at it yet, and I haven't let it breathe. I haven't given it a voice. And the more you start giving a voice to your unconscious, in the words of Carl Jung, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light. One becomes enlightened by making the darkness conscious. The more you become conscious of in your energy system, the more light starts to shine through. In terms of the collective unconscious of humanity, let's call that one Buddha. The Buddha light, it's easy to see because it's outside of you, right? And that's the Jesus light. You got to make that one big, right? And there's the Muhammad light. And get a modern one, Paramahansa Yogananda. Ooh, wait, Eckhart Tolle, special light. But it's all outside of you, right? How many lights are here? One. There's only one light. Don't confuse the point of entry as being somehow separate from where it's coming from. Don't look at your reflection in the mirror and somehow confuse or think that what you see in the mirror, that reflection is separate from that which is observing it. Alan Watts said that we are the universe looking at itself from billions of points of view. And one last thing I want to leave you with is from St. Francis of Assisi. Take a breath. That word that Yeshua used for that they said was fire actually means light. It doesn't mean fire. The word nuhra is a word that means feminine light, as in light of the moon. Everybody breathing? The word for moonlight, nuhra, also means human light or awareness. It means a reflective feminine light. Moonlight gets its light from where? The sun. The sun was called God's only begotten Son in the time of Jesus, whether you knew that or not. What's the only part of the moon that the sun chooses not to shine on? The back, right? That's a trick question. The light of the sun just shines. The God light shines. The only part of the God light that can't be seen by the God light is what's turned away from it, is what you're trying to hold down and push down into the corners. But there are no corners. You getting what I'm saying? There are no corners in the light. There's only light. What happens when we move closer to the light of the sun? You what? You burn, right? Now, not everybody's going to want to answer this, but you know the answer. What happens when you move closer to the presence and the light of God? You what? You burn. Why? Because there's still something within you that believes that it's not that light. But, in the words of St. Francis of Assisi, what you are looking for is what is looking. What you are looking for is what is looking. Let go of the reflection, because the reflection is the mask. It's the ape, it's the hypocrite, it's the veil. The reflection is what Yogananda called the pseudo-soul. Eckhart calls it the pain body. It's what Nisargadatta, was it Maharishi? Someone said, they called it a supra-rational enigma. Sri Aurobindo, a supra-rational enigma that seems so real. But understand that what you're looking for is what is looking. The love, the peace, the presence, the essence, the prosperity, the abundance, that's actually who you are. And we don't need to pile things on top of it. If there's anything we need to do, it's to burn things off, because we already are that, and we are the ones we are looking for. It's us, and it's now. And we asked for more light, and here it is. So we need to live it now. Like, now. So at what? Is it noon to 2 today? That we're doing no, I don't mean it's noon now, so like, oh my God, he's been on that long. It's noon today, and you're gonna, I want to go eat. I understand that. Here's the thing. What I'm gonna do today is we're gonna just spend 2 hours. I'm gonna spend about an hour and a half talking about the I am phrases from Yeshua. And those are like, I am the way and the truth and the life, I am the bread of life, I am the gate. And I'm going to talk about what they actually meant in his language. Just the I am alone will change your life. Learning what I am means, understanding that there's no possible way he could be talking about himself in the word that he used for I am. And then we're going to go through a few of those, and I actually have a 2-sided sheet that you're going to take home that's got those I am phrases on it that you can spend a lot of time with and breathe into them. But I'm going to leave some time at the end for questions. If anybody has some sort of burning Bible question, I didn't mean it that way, but some sort of burning question from the Bible, and you're interested in what my take is. And then tomorrow night is, I believe is it 7 to 9, which is an Aramaic toning, prayer, and cosmic chant circle. And we're going to sit with a crystal singing bowl, and I've got a native buffalo hoot drum that's really amazing. And tomorrow night is focused on sound. Tonight is focused on reinforcing what I just said, that what you're looking for is what is looking, that you are the light within the light. Anyway, you can breathe now. As if it wasn't already hot enough in here. Thank you. It's been my honor to be with you. Thank you.